Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Under the Hood, Ask a Pro. My name is Tony, where we're live every Thursday at 3 o'clock to answer your car questions and talk about automotive-related topics. And welcome to episode 19. So we've stuck with it this long. So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you know of any topics you'd like to see in the future, also if you have any questions about anything car-related, comment them now. I'll get to them at the end of the video, or if there's future videos you'd like to see coming up, please comment them and I'll put it on the list. But today we're going to start a series, at least 2 parts of air conditioning. And the reason is it's just the beginning of the season. So if we're having issues with your system, let's address them now before it gets too late. Then all of a sudden it's 90, 100 degrees, high humidity, and you're gonna really need that air conditioning. So if you are currently having air conditioning problems, or even if you know someone who's having AC problems, go ahead and tag them, and maybe they can watch this video. Maybe something I can help them with some do's or don'ts, or maybe you can come in and get them in contact with me, and maybe we can help them out. So before we kind of get into everything, we know what we need to talk about with air conditioning. We need to know how the system works. But before I do, I'm going to put up a little quiz here. So on this car. So if you know something about air conditioning, please comment them, or after I talk about air conditioning, if you think you have an idea, let me know what you think. So we have a set of gauges, manifold gauges, on this AC system on this Nissan, hooked up. We got low side at about, I don't know, 98 or so. High side, about the same, 98. I will say this, if I start up the car and turn on the AC, both of these stay the same. So let me know in the comments, is it low on charge? Is it overcharged? Do we have a bad component? Do we know if it's low? Do we know if it's low on charge? So those kind of items. So just let me know. Sorry, I had a robocall there. When we think, let's start off with the air conditioning. The first thing we have is the refrigerant itself in the system. Throughout, as it goes through the system, it's either a gas or a liquid, and that's what determines if it's cold or not. So if we have a problem with a system that's low, it's not going to function properly. And basically the heart of the system is going to be the AC compressor itself. Most cars are going to have a compressor, and you're going to have a clutch. Now the clutch on the system works like this. So the front pulley turns. So as the AC's off, the system just turns. Then when we want the air conditioning, we'll supply power and ground to the clutch. That introduces a magnetic field and draws in the clutch. Then all of a sudden the insides of the compressor start turning. And inside are just a set of pistons. And all they do is pump pressure. So we have 2 lines coming into this AC compressor. A low side, which is the suction. So it's going to take in the refrigerant, pump it, and send it to the condenser, which I have over here. Let's see if my microphone will reach. Probably not. Now at this point we cannot compress a liquid. So what we're doing is we're turning a low pressure gas into a high pressure gas. Then it sends it to our condenser. And then this condenser looks just like a radiator, very similar. And we have refrigerant comes in, the high pressure gas will come in and start flowing through the condenser. And what it does when it comes out is it's a high pressure liquid. What helps that is the airflow moving across the condenser. You also have a set of cooling fans on this, on the condenser. So if you've noticed your air conditioning system does not do great at idle, but driving down the road it's super cold, you probably have an issue with this condenser itself, or the cooling fans that run that. We're not getting enough airflow through these vanes. Another thing you'll see is bugs and debris. This is right in the front of the bumper, right in front of the radiator, so rocks can hit it, bugs can get damaged, and actually restrict that, causing some issues. After it's gone through the condenser, now we're a high pressure liquid. It's going to go to either 2 things, an accumulator or a dryer. I won't get too into them too much, but here's a dryer. Depending on the system, you'll have an accumulator at this point, or you may have this dryer before the AC compressor. And basically what the main point of this is, it has a desiccant bag, so it absorbs moisture. So any moisture that's in the system can be absorbed. And you'll notice as they come packed, they come totally sealed. So this is what we call a filter dryer. An accumulator is on the high side, and a lot of times you'll see it now on the condenser. This one actually has a bolt, and it's serviceable, so you can take the bolt out and replace the dryer. We replace them every time we open up an AC system. The reason is moisture can cause problems in a system. When we evacuate and recharge a system, there's certain things we can do to limit that water in the system, or the moisture or humidity that's in the air. But it's always a good practice because these can get saturated and affect the AC system. Now that we have our high pressure gas, what we're going to do is we're going to send it through an orifice tube or an expansion valve. And what these are, I'll just talk about the orifice tube first. It's just a fixed hole, very small hole. Depending on the AC system, they make all kinds of different colors, and they're all the inches of how big the opening is. So once we have this high pressure liquid, it hits this, it goes through the small tube, and it actually comes out as a low pressure gas. This low pressure gas is super cold, so that's where we get our change in our freon temperatures. All of a sudden we have a hot gas or hot liquid, now we have a very super cold gas. What an expansion valve does is the same thing. It sends it through this one's not fixed, a small hole. There's a thermostat on the top of this one, and it'll actually regulate the size of that hole depending on the temperature. So this one is very sensitive to the amount of charge. If it gets low, it can't modify the size of it. This one's a little bit more forgiving. But if we have failures in the system, like a compressor that explodes and sends metal through the system, these components will get restricted. More so this one, you can see there's a screen to help protect it, but once that metal's in the system, you'll have to pretty much replace the majority of the components and flush that out. Now that we have a super cold gas, we're going to put it through the evaporator core, and this is actually inside of the dash of the car. And kind of like the condenser or the radiator, now that gas is going to cycle through this evaporator, and it's going to be super cold, probably 30 degrees depending on the day, and our blower motor is going to force air on one side through the other. So we have 60-degree air coming in, now we have a whole lot colder air, maybe in the 40s or 50s coming out the other side. And that's what gives us the cold air on the inside of the vehicle, is actually the air blowing through the evaporator core. Sometimes, and if your car has a cabin air filter, or if you don't know if your car has one, have it checked out, because what we see a lot of times when these things fail is the cabin air filter will get full of leaves and debris, and it'll actually come down and build up on the bottom side of this evaporator, and those leaves will get water and moisture on them, because this is going to sweat because we're pulling moisture out of the air when it's working on a hot day, and it'll actually start corroding the bottom of this evaporator and rust it out. Then all of a sudden it leaks the freon out. Then you have a huge repair and a lot of labor to replace this component. Couple other things that's in the dash that's somewhat related to the AC system, not necessarily with the pressures, are the blend doors and the actuators. We see a lot of these fail. So now that we have the air coming in, just like if you want heat, you have a door that's directing the airflow through the evaporator or the heater core to get you either hot or cold air. So if your AC is not blowing cold, what you may want to do is play with that knob and listen. See if you hear that door moving, or if you see a change in the air. Also, see if there's like a temperature change, because if that door is working, you should feel a difference. Even if the AC compressor is not working and you turn it to heat, you should hear that door at least move, the air sound different, and it gets a lot hotter. If you move it and you don't hear any change in it and the temperature stays exactly the same, you probably have an actuator bad, or maybe that door is broken, one of the two. Once we pass it through the evaporator, if it's expansion valve, of course, or orifice tube, it's going to go through the filter dryer at that point. Then, of course, back to our AC compressor itself. So that's pretty much the components and the basic setup of an AC system and how it works. If this is something you would like to see more in depth, maybe some more components and how it works, and maybe kind of show you on a car, let me know, and I can, you know, bring that up in the next couple weeks or maybe next week. So if anyone has any questions, now's a pretty good time. Let me show you one thing. All right, so do's and don'ts. Don't ever use one of these. These cans are, you know, you see them TV commercials. My AC is not blowing cold, so I'm going to hook this can up to it that has a gauge and a trigger and pull it in and try to force this refrigerant that it claims to be 134A in your vehicle. Not only can these be dangerous, so if you decide to do it, read the labels. If you buy one of these, I doubt you can even return it. So that tells you something about the people who sell these. Once they sell it, they're like, oh, there's no return policy. This is as soon as a customer walks into our shop, says our AC's not blowing cold, I'll ask them, what, you know, did you do anything? If they say, yeah, I put one of these cans in, you automatically cost yourself probably at least $100 worth of labor and how much and whatever money you spend on one of these. So don't put one of these in them. Some of them have stop leak, so we have and the idea makes sense to a consumer. So my AC's not working, I'm going to try to charge it, and maybe the stop leak's going to prevent it. But like I said, in these expansion valves, they're very sensitive fixed orifices. So we may contaminate an entire AC system. Now we have to flush everything out just because you bought a $40 kit to save you some money. So if you take anything from this video or know someone who is getting ready to buy one of these, don't. Just trust me, it's not worth it. It will cost you a whole lot more money in the long run. So say you have another component that's even bad and you install one of these. Now, for me to properly even diagnose your AC system, I have to do repairs to get this stuff out of the system. When I say, you know, it claims to have 134A in it, we don't exactly know. You know, I've heard stories and we've had testers that maybe propane's filled and a couple other gases. So it can contaminate the system, so don't do that. Another thing you can do is probably a good step is when I talk to you about the condenser itself and all the bugs that get into it, is to, when you're washing the car, get a garden hose and spray that out. Make sure all those bugs, that way we are out, so you have good airflow, not only through the condenser for your AC, but for your radiator. Make sure you're checking your cabin air filter. That's going to put less strain on the evaporator and your blower motor, and maybe even the doors inside your HVAC system. What else should we not do? Well, it's very specialized. You have to be licensed to work on AC components. So some shops will let you supply your own parts. So say you have it at a repair shop and you're going to supply your own parts. Mainly the AC compressor itself. If you are going to purchase one of these, do not buy a remanufactured one. From our experiences, the remans will not last a year. You know, someone takes them apart somewhere in the world, probably not the United States, and they rebuild them and put it back together and they sell them to you. Trust me, it's worth the extra money and the warranty to buy a brand new one. We had to learn that the hard way, but we learned it, and that's what we're sharing with you now. And, you know, that's what makes some shops different than others, because their prices may be higher, but their knowledge of why you're installing a better part will save you hundreds of dollars down the road. So one thing to keep in mind, if you are or you have your car at a repair shop and you're getting, say, that AC compressor, check, is it new, is it reman? There's certain, you know, starters and alternators, we use reman for the price. We don't have that many problems. Of course, with a reman you run into some risk of part failure. You still see that with new, but I'm not totally against remanufactured parts at all, but for sure when it comes to AC system, let's do that. I'll see if anyone. Please, everyone watching, like Auto Tech Service on Facebook. Yeah, well, if you, please like us on our Facebook page. We have our new website almost ready to go, so check out our new website. We're still tweaking it a little bit, just like with anything. You know, it's totally redesigned. We're building it up, but it looks really good. So also check out our new website. So your next, so if no one has questions, we'll probably wrap some things up. Comment about those gauges. So our gauge set, if you have an idea of what's going on with that, or if you work on cars, comment them. Maybe we'll get back to it next week. If you like to see what a machine looks like, if you like to see inside of an AC system, if you are having AC problems and want a tip, or maybe I can help you over the Facebook Live, let me know. Next week, episode 20. So everyone be sure to watch at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a little different, I'll say that, but I'm not going to lead into it, so you're going to have to watch it yourself to know. So thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week. Drive safe. Bye.